They're our constituency. We've got to help win those people. Now, I'm not saying yes, but let's change our message to one of love and Christian outreach to these people so that we can bring them in the process. Now, something happened in the last 48 hours. The national chairman of the Republican Party, Mr. Davies, put out his report about what the election is. And he's come up with an idea that essentially centers around the idea of dividing our country into regions, and those regions would have a Super Tuesday type primary, but this would happen very, very early in the process. And the idea is to get a candidate, get that candidate together, and let that candidate be the one that we nominated so that we stop the firestorm and the cauldron of purifying our candidates and letting them really know what the people want. That process would tremendously favor a candidate who's got a wallet full of money. That process would do it. I strongly believe that each state has a right to dictate how they do their presidential selection and that process. And we don't need to have Dennis Davies telling us exactly where we are and what we're going to do. And I sent that message loud and clear. I released a publication today that's on the internet that says, no, I stand up to him and I say, we are grassroots oriented. We came from the grassroots. Now, I think John's getting antsy. And by the way, I am a lawyer, and I get paid by the minute, so I can talk for hours. I've always been told that one of the most important things is to have humor, and I always love having in our party good times. And I mean it. Make this enjoyable. Don't make this an ordeal. Get people involved and let them come to a hamburger fry or any roast or something like that so that they can come in and they'll have a good time and enjoy themselves. That is so critically important. But that thing about humor, I was reminded today, a friend of mine sent me a little email and said, Mr. Chavez is in hell, and lo and behold, shortly thereafter, Bill Clinton died, and finally Mr. Putin died. Well, they're all down there, and the devil came into him and said, how would you like to call home? Oh yeah, Chavez pops up and said, fine, let me call Venezuela, I'll give him version of my people. And he did. He got on the phone, he talked for 6 minutes, and Bill said, that's $500. Putin gets on the phone next, and he calls back to Mother Russia, and he's talking to them, and he said, he talked for about 45 minutes, $6,000. And Bill Clinton got on the phone, and he talked for 6 hours. He talked to Dory, he talked to Nancy, he talked to Barack, he talked to all his friends and enemies. And finally he got off the phone and hung up, and Bill says, Al? Bill said, well, how much is mine? He says, oh, 55 cents. 55 cents. Putin blows up. This is crazy. Why in the world does he do that? He said, he sent Barack came to Browser. It's going to help. It's a local law. On that note, please use that. But I want to say one thing. I will work with you to build you and bring this process. But I want to be a bridge to bring together all of our various things. We've got to be communicating. I learned this one thing. You'll never be successful until you build a team. And that team has got to have all the aspects of us in the party, and we've got to work together as a team. And frankly, I think we need a pressure on it. Thank you all.
If I can make a real quick, brief announcement, we do have a line of weather coming in, and it's about to arrive here. The shelter area is at the basement level, so we're going to watch the radar, watch the weather reports. If it looks like it's going to be something that we need to leave, we will cut this off and evacuate and go downstairs. So just want to give you that little warning ahead of time. So we'll rain shower coming in first, but the heavy stuff's right behind it. So
if it's any consolation, on the radio they said there was a tornado watch for Atlanta, but Cherokee, Gwinnett, and Forsyth are exempted.
So anyway, I'm going to turn it over and try to keep it in alphabetical order. So Al, if you would continue.
Well, thank you all for having me here today. I'd like to start by just thinking about first saying that I appreciate you all having me here, and also I'd like you all to know that I'm here to listen to you. No matter who you support in this election, I want to know your ideas for the future of the Republican Party in Georgia. And what you think is wrong with the Republican Party in Georgia right now, and at a national level, since the chairman of the state party sits on the RNC. So that means that when Prince Priebus does things, as Seth mentioned, I mean, you actually are there and have a vote and a voice, the chair does, to stop things that favor, for example, just the candidates with a lot of money. But from my perspective, what's wrong with what's going on wrong now is that we're losing elections nationwide. That's currently one of the major problems the Republican Party is facing. In addition to that, we have Republican politicians that are doing things and saying things that alienate voters from the Republican Party. I mean, it makes it pretty hard to go out and bring someone into the party when you go and you say, well, we're the fiscally conservative party, we're going to stop the debt from spiraling out of control and stop our children and grandchildren from having to pay it off. And then the independent voter turns and says, what about that guy over there in Congress who's a Republican who just voted against that and voted to expand the debt, voted to expand the government, have more spending. How can we do that when there's so many politicians that just betray the principles that we all hold dear as Republicans? I mean, it's not really fair to me or to any of you who have been working at this longer than I have. Like, how is that fair that you get betrayed by the politicians? I think that it's appalling that there are some Republicans who actually spoke up and said, oh, it's not a big deal if President Obama thinks he can have a drone strike ordered on a U.S. citizen on U.S. soil without trial. And I think it was very brave what numerous representatives did and stood up against that, stood up for our constitutional principles. I think the party needs to be doing that. The party needs to make it clear, especially in Georgia. We need to go and say, look, our party stands for these principles. Our party does not stand for ethics bills that restrict activism from the grassroots. I mean, that's what we just need. The party needs to stand up and say that that is what the Republican Party means. I think that right now we aren't doing that. Additionally, we need to focus efforts on growing the party. I think that that's something that's also not going on. I ran for office, as you heard earlier. I've taught other people who ran for office. The trick is that in Democratic districts right now, the state party doesn't really give much support, not financially, not logistically. The money is spent on the districts that are either called competitive or firmly Republican areas. Now, it's important to have Republicans elected to office and re-elected. It's good to focus efforts there. The problem, though, is that when you have redistricting, you start having areas that are becoming very highly Democratic with a very low Republican turnout. Now, if we don't focus any money and effort there, what will just keep happening is everyone in those areas will just keep becoming Democratic. We won't actually be reaching out to independent voters and non-voters, and then the party will gradually get smaller until it dies in Georgia. We only had 50, I think it was 53% of the vote for Romney in the last cycle. That should be higher. The Georgia party needs to be focusing on getting more Republican voters in the state that firmly vote Republican. So what I want to do, the state party I think needs to hold principles is more important than individual politicians. I mean, it may not be popular with politicians if the state party says, look, you aren't acting like a Republican, but in the end, that's what you all deserve, because you're the ones working for the party. And I'm not saying there needs to be a litmus test, but I'm saying if someone steps outside of the big tent that our party has, that's a problem. And the party needs to stand up to that, not just stay silent. Because being silent just means that more people will have the wrong perception of what the Republican Party stands for. Additionally, it's important that we focus money and logistical support to county parties and explain how they can grow. Cherokee is a very Republican county, so I know I'm probably preaching to the choir here, but a lot of counties are not firmly Republican. A lot of counties only have 5 or 6 people showing up to their meetings. And the thing is that we need more people involved if we're going to convince people to be Republicans. Most people aren't going to become Republicans due to a simple soundbite. They're going to become Republicans because we're involved in their communities. That we have people on the ground in Democratic areas, in minority areas, and saying, look, this is what our principles are, this is what we stand for, this is why our policies benefit you. And you should be in the Republican Party. I mean, being from DeKalb County, the government over there is incompetent. It's Democratic. It's not a hard sell to say, look, we need to join the Republican Party, but we do need support we need financial support from the state party that raises millions of dollars every year. I think that growing the party is important, but I also think unifying the party is important. Right now, there are a lot of factions. There's a lot of infighting. And while I don't think that people who support drone strikes should be considered Republican, I mean, I think that in general the factions need to be brought together. I think that what's important is we look at the fact that it doesn't matter who you voted for in the last election. It doesn't matter what you did. I mean, I voted Republican straight down the line, but other people have not. Some people may have been Libertarians, some people may have been Democrats 4, 6, or 8 years ago and then became Republicans. What happened in the past is not what matters now. Calling other people in the party Libertarians or calling Tea Party people Libertarians or saying they aren't real Republicans, what does that do? Where do those people go? Do you think they vote Republican in the next election? Or are they going to vote for the next Romney or McCain? Or are they going to vote Democratic or stay home? That's not growing the Republican Party. So I think that what we need to do is reach out to all Tea Party groups. We reach out to those like groups that supported people like Ron Paul, people that are in the Liberty groups, people that are in the other conservative groups, 10th Amendment Coalition, 9/12 groups, and find the people who are actually share the Republican Party's principles and say, look, we understand that the party may not have been standing up for its principles best in the past, but we want you involved. We want you to be part of the Republican Party, and this is how you can do it. If you want to join the teen Republicans, the college Republicans, the young Republicans, you want to be involved in the county party, the women's group, the senior network, this is how you can do it. And then we also need to say how your involvement will actually cause real positive political change for the country. I mean, people don't want to be involved just to do nothing. They want to actually cause change. And we need to reach out and explain to people that that's what we have to do. And I think that that's the key challenge facing the party, is unifying the party.